I was told once, if you're going to spank your kids, you need to be sure that you are calm and that you are doing so, and they need to know that you love them. One of my kids was really out of control recently, and he came to my wife and said, I deserve to spank you. Okay? He did. And it needs to happen, though, from a place of love. Not in a wild, crazy, fuming, explode, like those are the things that we confess and apologize, and we confess to God about. But disciplining our kids, that is an important part. And I'm not, again, there are different philosophies on this. Some people, we have advocates on both ends. And that's fine. You as a family unit have to figure out what's going to work in your home. But all I'm telling you is that as a couple, you want to agree on something, on how to discipline your kids, and it needs to be from a place of love, and our children have to know that. How we express our disciplining our kids to them, communicates to them how we feel about them. Okay? We also have to acknowledge that our tongue is much sharper and stronger than our children. All of us have a much stronger vocabulary than our kids. We can use sarcasm. We can put our kids down. We can make our children feel this small. And most of us at some point fall into that trap. Okay? Most of us slip and fall. And a lot of us use sarcasm with our kids because we're irritated and they don't know how to respond. All I'm suggesting is we just need to be sure that we're communicating love to our children. Because the way we speak to them, if they feel that way, all of these things can lead to us provoking our children to wrath. He then says, very importantly, bring them up in training and in admonition. Another translation says in discipline and in instruction. In discipline and instruction. The word discipline implies training. Okay? It involves rules. It involves regulations. It involves a certain level of accountability. It involves a system. Back in 2002, I went and I must have been on drugs or something. I don't know what was going on in my mind. But I decided I was going to go teach elementary school for a year as a volunteer. I was young and stupid, okay? And I was just like, and those of you who are elementary education, God bless you. Like, God, the world needs you. I did it for 1 year. I learned so much. And I learned that my gifting is not elementary kids. Okay? And so, but I read a number of books before I started teaching. And one of the first books that I picked up was First Day of School. And First Day of School. And it was basically saying, when we take command of the classroom, what we're doing is we're creating a safe place in the classroom for all of the students. There's a sense of system in place. There's a sense of expectations. And so, I'll be honest, like when we talk about discipline or training our children, it's so important for them to know that there is some kind of rules. Rules are good. Okay? Call them, if like some people want to move away from the word rules, use the word principles if you don't like rules. It seems like some people are like very sensitive about that. They're like very authoritarian, and use the word principles, whatever you want. There needs to be some level of expectation in the house. Our kids know, like we have a 6-fold or 7-fold series of disciplines. We usually now, the first couple times, like we only got to level 6 or 7 once. Okay? But now our kids know. And so we now have, we usually don't get past level 2 or 3. We don't. Okay? First one is just go sit in your room for 6 minutes and think about it, because they're 6 years old. The second one, they have to sit down and write out what they did, how they did it, why they did it, what they would do differently next time, right? And then the third, and then they lose one privilege. And we've listed out all so now they know what to expect. And the hardest thing for us is to remain committed to that discipline. It's to remain committed to a system. Because the system, if it gets hijacked, that's it. Like, and they know, by the way, what they're doing. The other layer of discipline that I'll tell you about is our own spiritual discipline. It's our own spiritual canon. In Arabic, they use the word qanun ruh, right? Spiritual canon, or spiritual rule. This comes from a monastic life that was introduced into the whole of Eastern Christianity. That friend that I was telling you guys about in the first lecture, the guy from Queens, he visited a number of different monasteries and churches. And he came back and he invited me to come to this conference where he introduced to 300 evangelical pastors the idea of a spiritual canon. And I don't know, he was like, the Father Michael was here from the Coptic Orthodox Church. This is all starting from the desert to Egypt, blah, blah. And he's like going on, and he's introducing this idea to the evangelical, or reintroducing, I should say, to them, this idea of the spiritual canon. If we want to grow, if we come back to the heart of the matter, which is we want to grow ourselves, our own spiritual canon, our own spiritual rule of life, our spiritual discipline of our Bible reading, our time of prayer, our fastings, our commitment to liturgical life, our commitment to family time, and I'm going to throw in family time as part of the spiritual discipline. Because the family is the spiritual unit. It is the first unit. All of that stuff, our work-life balance, is part of our spiritual canon. So when we have a very clear spiritual canon, that also impacts and instructs and trains our children on what it means to have a rule of life. Because at their age, maybe the rule of life, they're going to participate in certain aspects of your own spiritual rule. And it might be one or two things, like, so our kids, we pray with them in the morning. We started with them in the morning praying. At first when we started, we were like, my wife is very ambitious. Okay? And she is, I'll just say, for those of you who don't, more has 3 master's degrees, okay? She's a very ambitious woman, okay? And so she started off the introduction of the we did we were doing 2 of the hours, 3 songs each, gospel, like the whole bit. And I'm like sitting there and I'm like, kids are climbing the walls. Talk about like what y'all were just starting earlier discussion. It was bananas. And I was like, I think we need to tone this down a little bit. Like let's take a step back. And so we toned it down and started, and we've been doing this for the last 8 or 9 months now. We started off with the introduction of the hour. In the morning and at night. And then we closed with personal prayer. Every person was praying. There's no better way to learn to pray than by having everyone pray. Our kids learned to pray. When they first started praying, they were like, God please help Joseph to be my king. Like that was the prayer edition. Now they're praying, like, please God help Irene and Olivia who are sick. Now they're praying, please help no who's traveling to Egypt. God keep her safe from any bad stuff over there, right? They're now thinking outside of themselves because they've been, quote unquote, being trained how to have this relationship with God and what that means. That it's not just about me, okay? But after doing that for a couple of months, we added a song. It's training. The Greek word pedagogy literally gives the imagery. It talks about, if you type in pedagogy, Christian pedagogy, the word Christian education will come up. Okay? But the word pedagogy literally gives the imagery of taking baby steps. So we teach our kids how to have a spiritual rule. For some of you, you don't have a spiritual rule. This might become your spiritual rule to study. And that's okay. And I want to tell you, don't feel bad. Because to go from 0 to 60 in like 3.3 seconds, your engine may not be ready for that. And maybe what you need right now is just to take that first step with your kids. And you pray in the morning, the introduction, and a personal time of prayer with your kids. If you are off before your kids are awake in the morning, to work, and I know a number of you commute to Manhattan, you wake up 5-10 minutes early, you have your own personal time. But at night, you got to plan when possible. I try to do it in the morning with my kids because I'm not always around in the evening because I'm oftentimes out of visitations and whatnot. Okay? But anyway, so I'll cover other stuff first. In addition to that, we read a Bible story. Okay? Just so you know, we've been doing this for about 8 or 9 months. Our kids now have most of the Thanksgiving prayer involved 15 months. And I'm not saying that to brag about my kids. I'm just saying any one of us would be the same way. Any person who prays these things, and now, like, my kids will start quoting certain things just randomly from the Psalms or absolutions, and I'm like, who are you? Like, where did you come from? Okay, and I have to commend my wife. My wife is really, she's very strong in her discipline, and so she has taken the lead on this. And when I'm there, she tells me, she's like, please leave. Okay, she reverts me, and I appreciate that. Okay. But when I'm not around, she drives. She drives because I'm not around every night. That's just the reality of my job, so to speak. Okay? Try to have dinner with my kids every night. Usually happens about 4 or 5 days a week. Okay? But I'm not always around there for every week. When I am, I try to make it to see her and to stand there. But just take a step with your kids. If your kids are not fasting yet, it's like in the mornings before they come to liturgy, and they're like 4 or 5 years old, they probably, like, if they've never fasted before 4 or 5 years old, start preparing them by, like, they need something light at home before they come. If you're already fasting, then that's good. Expand it a little bit. Usually what they say is 1 hour for every year. Okay? So our kid, like Elijah now, our communion is at 11:15, so he'll eat something right before Morley's home at 9:15. The twins, and then he doesn't eat or drink anything extra after that. Okay? The twins are 5, they just turned 6, they fast from the night before. After they go to bed, they wake up, they're good. Okay? And they will struggle. It happens, okay? But we're also teaching them as they grow that they're growing. This is all part of the spiritual discipline. During certain fasts, we now have our kids fast Wednesdays and Fridays during some of the St. Mary fast. We have our kids fasting with us Wednesdays and Fridays. Okay? And as they get older, we'll expand days. We'll add a day here and add a day there. It becomes, so they're starting to share little aspects of the foundation, though, is that we have a spiritual discipline. And we're now discipling our children, not because I'm a priest, but because as a father and as a mother, we are making disciples of Jesus Christ. And I'm commanding you to do the same. Make disciples of Jesus Christ. You have the most important school in the world in your house. The most powerful school is not Harvard or Oxford or Princeton or even the University of Texas, my alma mater. But it's the home. It's the home. And I want to encourage you, make disciples of all nations, starting with your own kids. For those of you who have mixed intercultural kids, you are making disciples of multiple nations. That's fantastic. Okay? But we want to disciple them. And the amazing thing, and I'm going to wrap up here because I do want to, I have so much more that I could say here, but I'm just going to share 2 last things with you. I want to share with you about this, and I want to re-emphasize something about the Sabbath experience in Judaism, because I think there's much to be learned. Let me show that, and I'll close with the book. Okay? One last story. So, about 3 or 4 months ago, we had a Jewish girl named Yara. She's the president of the Jewish Center of Family Life at Princeton University. She came. One of the girls from the church invited her to come. She came. And so I was just interested with her. I wanted to understand more about Sabbath. And so, because that's such an important part of the Jewish community life. And so she was sharing some stuff with me, and I went back and did some reading and research. Really beautiful. So there's something within the Sabbath, and it brings me back to the imagery of Ephesians 5 and 6.